everybody, and welcome to Unity of New Westminster's annual 12 Hours candlelighting service. It is so nice to see everybody here, especially on what sounds like an absolutely awful evening out there. I could hear the rain drumming from inside, I could hear it. Wow. So thank you for venturing out in the dark and cold. I hope you find that tonight's service is uplifting and enlightening and lifts your spirits, brightens up your spirits. We begin our service this evening in a time of quiet reflection. In the spirit of truth and reconciliation, we begin by recognizing and acknowledging the Kakite First Nation, as well as all Coast Salish peoples on whose traditional and unceded territories we live, we work, we play. We are grateful. And we are grateful to come together tonight as a community of love and faith and support, to sing together, to contemplate the magnificent powers within us, and to reimagine how they may work for us. We bless every person, both here in this room, as well as other members of our community who aren't able to be with us tonight, and extend our blessing of love to all people, all races, all creeds, all nationalities, all belief systems. We give thanks for it all. And say amen. Amen. Tonight's daily word, today's daily word, is let go, let God. I release limiting perspectives and allow my good to unfold. At times I have clung to ways of being that keep me stuck in place, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Ready for a new direction in my life, I pause to open my heart and my mind to a storehouse of unlimited possibilities. Turning to the presence of God within, I choose to surrender my limited perspectives and become willing to take on a new and higher perspective. When I tap into my spiritual nature, life takes on a new sense of adventure. Following divine inspiration, I am able to move forward on my life's journey. Viewing life in positive ways with an attitude of empowerment, I expect my greatest good to unfold. No matter what may arise in my life, I am grateful, knowing that God is blessing me in magnificent ways. And from Psalm 55, verse 22, cast your burden on the Lord, he will sustain you. The Advent season, which culminates with Christmas, is an invitation to see the world differently. We're invited to not be so enmeshed with the present, not be overly impressed with things as they are, and not be so committed to and defensive of all our current arrangements. Instead, we are invited to live the world we want, the world we want to create. In fact, we are the creators of ending the injustices the anger and the discomfort that we see around us, and instead envision birthing a new reality. Now, as you know, we enjoy the stories and the characters in the Bible just as they are written. And we also believe that the people, the places, and the events in the Bible are representations of thoughts and traits within us. And Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, wrote a book called The 12 Powers of Man, in which he sees the 12 disciples of Jesus as representatives of traits within us, of faculties and powers that are inherent to each person. These are traits that we want to develop, and when they work together, they help us to evolve into perfect expressions, perfect balance. These traits are what we call the 12 powers. They are found in the words and the actions of the 12 disciples. They're also found in the Christmas story, as they are found in each of us. And so tonight, we're going to examine the Christmas story with the lens of the 12 powers and how those characters and places are representative of things within us. When we activate those things within us, those powers within us, we turn our eyes toward the new, toward the light during this darkest time of year. We turn our hearts towards gentleness and our words and actions towards living meaningful and abundant lives for all. These core abilities are within each of us, and we use them always, whether we are intentional and aware or not. If we can consciously use them to handle our life experiences, then our life experiences will feel more balanced and more empowering. Each power has a focused use and purpose, and together, when they are used in concert and when they are used in proper right relationship with each other, they help us to master the art of living. The powers are faith, strength, wisdom, love, power, imagination, understanding, will, order, zeal, release, and new life. Tonight, we light these candles as a celebration and a commitment to being God principle in action, to being the very highest expression of God life that we can be. What Jesus lived and demonstrated is the perfect balance of those 12 powers. He was the example of what we call Christ consciousness. He was our guide for how to birth that highest, best connection with divinity in ourselves. And as we are called higher to be the expression of God here on earth, here in this human experience, we celebrate the example that he shared and the wisdom that we can find in the 12 powers. And so, we begin.
Lit the blue candle, and the blue candle represents the faculty of faith. In the Christmas story, Mary represents faith. Mary holds a very special place in our hearts because she is the quintessential activity of faith. The angel Gabriel, a divine visitor, knocked on the door of her heart, asking her to do the impossible. This news probably brought some fear and filled her with questions. Yet, the moment she stepped forward in faith into an unknown future, she created a space within herself for infinite possibilities to be born. We light this candle to acknowledge our living light of faith, the light that calls us to intuit, to perceive, to believe. We step forward in faith, following the longing within us to be greater than we could have ever imagined. We know that there is never a need to fear. Together, we light this candle to acknowledge our power of faith. When we step forward in faith, we create a space for new possibilities to be born. We need not fear. The power.
The light green candle represents strength. In the Christmas story, we see strength embodied in the shepherds. In the Gospel of Luke, the shepherds are tending to their sheep when the angels appear. They are doing what they have done for generations, watching over what is precious and necessary for life. They represent the enduring, living light of strength, the power and purity of steadfast perseverance we embody as we navigate life. The shepherds are that voice within, reminding us that we have the strength to persevere despite our fears. We use the power of strength to endure, to stay the course, and to persist as we grow in our awareness that we are holy. Together. Everyone, we light this candle to acknowledge our power of strength. We use strength to endure, to stay the course, and to persist as we grow in awareness that we are holy. The power of strength is awakened in us now.
We pair the candles for faith and strength because they complement each other. In the body, we define faith as the top of the head and strength as the bottom of your backbone. When we have a deep inner knowing about what is ours to do, and we combine faith with the perseverance of strength, we stay the course despite our doubts and our fears about the future. Faith and strength together carry a mighty force for change in the world.
I now light the candle, the orange candle that stands for release. It's actually a rust candle. So, the rust candle represents the faculty of release. In the Christmas story, the inn and the stable represent the ability to release. In Scripture, Jesus' lineage and connection to King David is highlighted. The prophets foretold the coming of a Messiah. One might expect that a Messiah with royal lineage would be born in grand circumstances. Yet Jesus, the man who changed the world, who lived a life of highest good, was born in less than ideal circumstances, in a stable. This is a reminder that although where, who, and what we come from matters to us, we are not our circumstances. When things don't unfold as we hope they will, our power of release enables us to surrender to what is, and to let go of the expectations that can cause us suffering. With release, we free ourselves to experience new good from unexpected new places, and we continue to thrive on our spiritual journey. We light this candle to acknowledge our living light of release, the light of surrendering and releasing old thoughts, feelings, and experiences that are not for our highest good. Together, we light this candle to acknowledge our faculty of release. We use release to let go of released thoughts and feelings that no longer serve us. The power of release is awakened in us now.
The red candle represents Jesus and the faculty of life. The setting for Jesus' birth story in Bethlehem is at the darkest time of the year. Is it any wonder then that we yearn for the rich language of light, luminous, blazing, glowing, illuminating, radiant, sparkling, shining, brilliant? Light is deep within us as the symbol of what is most sacred, divine, and alive. It is life itself. We light this candle to acknowledge our living light of life, which is the expression of vitality, wholeness, and creativity, as demonstrated by Jesus. His birth and life remind us that we were infused with that same divine presence he embodied, and we have the power and potential to express as God in all things, in all ways. Together, we light this candle to acknowledge our faculty of life. We use life to energize and enliven and revitalize the world within us and around us. The power of life is now awakened in us.
Life energy needs release so that we can move forward. There are times when we know that we need to release beliefs, thoughts, and attitudes that might hold us back from experiencing greater, new, exciting life. As we release the old, we allow our life energy, the energy that is the Christ, to come forward.
The dark and green candle represents order. In the Christmas story, our faculty of order is represented by the road to Bethlehem. The Christmas story tells us that Mary and Joseph journeyed from Nazareth to Bethlehem. Although she was in an advanced stage of pregnancy, Mary and Joseph traveled from one place to another, following a path and achieving steady progress until they reached their destination. In their calm example, we see the power of order at work. We use the power of order to create a life which is productive and peaceful, balanced and harmonious. Together, we light this candle to acknowledge our faculty of order. We use order to create a life which is balanced, harmonious, productive, and peaceful. The power of order is awakened in us now.
The orange candle represents zeal, also known as enthusiasm. In the Christmas story, zeal is represented by the heavenly hosts. The prophet Isaiah wrote that a child would be born, the Prince of Peace, and heavenly hosts would express the zeal of the Lord. In the Gospel of Luke, the heavenly hosts ring out the song of Jesus' birth, and suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly hosts. This awe-inspiring image represents the universal force which urges us to grow and enthusiastically move forward in life. We use the power of zeal to energize and inspire, to bring passion and excitement to our world. Together, we light this candle to acknowledge our power of zeal. We use zeal to energize and positively inspire ourselves and others, and to bring enthusiasm and passion everywhere we go. Zeal is awakened in us now.
Without order, zeal, passion would be out of control and sometimes hectic. When we add order to our passion, to our enthusiasm, we see both passion for getting things done and the fulfillment of getting things done. We stay seated as we sing. Angels we have heard on high.
The yellow candle represents wisdom. In the Christmas story, the wise men embody wisdom. Herod the king had instructed the wise men to return to him after they had found the baby. When the wise men had the vision that they should leave the country by another road, without returning to Herod, they chose to act on it, at great risk to their own well-being. The Magi, wise men, represent in us our capacity to seek inner guidance and answers, and to use that wisdom and discernment to create a world that works for all. We light this candle to acknowledge our living light of wisdom. Wisdom leads us to follow our inner guidance, to live as love, compassion, joy, and peace at all times, even when it seems that doing so will place us in great risk. Together, we light this candle to acknowledge our faculty of wisdom. We use wisdom to follow our inner guidance and discern the right action to take. Wisdom is awakened in us now.
second candle represents love. In the Christmas story, the gifts of the Magi demonstrate the faculty of love. In the Gospel of Matthew, the gifts the wise men bring to Jesus are gold, frankincense, and myrrh, rare, precious, and priceless in Jesus' world. The Magi traveled from faraway nations and gave these gifts as a sign of love and devotion. The gifts of the Magi remind us that we are each able to give this priceless gift of love and belonging. At Christmas, we remember that we have the power to love within us, and like the Magi, we commit to sharing our gift of love with ourselves and with others. Together, we light this candle to acknowledge our reality of love. Love is a gift we can give to ourselves and to others to honor the holiness of humanity. Love is awakened in us now.
We pair the candles for wisdom and love because they complement each other. Wisdom without love will come across as knowledge without feeling, without heart. Love without wisdom. We've all done that. When we combine our knowledge with our love, we activate a mighty power for good. I want to share a quick story with you. A story that was shared with me by my dad. And then I went and found the actual story. It's called The Gifts of the Magi. And it was written by O. Henry. I'll shorten it. $1.87. That was all that Della had to buy a gift for Jim. She had been saving and saving and scrimping and saving for weeks. And $1.87 was all she could manage. Christmas was tomorrow. What was she to do? She glimpsed in the mirror and realized that her beautiful hair was something that Jim adored. It was something they were both proud of, almost as proud as they were of Jim's pocket watch. He loved that pocket watch. It was part of his father's legacy to him and his father's father's legacy before him. And always Jim had it in his pocket because it had no chain. And she realized that if she could get him a chain, he would be able to take this watch, which was the pride of his life, the pride of his family, and hang it proudly for the world to see. And so Della, with her $1.87, went in search of a solution. And she came across a store. The store was called Mrs. Sofroni's, hair articles of all kinds. And she went up to that second floor store and she said, "Will you buy my hair?" And Mrs. Sofroni said, $20. I'll give you $20 for your hair. And Della said, "Do it." A few hours later, she is home now with her short hair. And she's panicking because she hopes that Jim will still find her attractive. Jim comes home and she says to him, "Jim, I have the most amazing gift for you. I went and sold my hair. But don't worry, it'll grow back. But I went so that I could give you this most beautiful gift. And she gave him the chain. And she said, Jim, give me the pocket watch so we can attach it. And he said, Della, I have a gift for you too. And he brought out this most beautiful hair comb. The hair comb that he had noticed her admiring in the window of the store one day, knowing that there was no way that she could afford this beautiful hair comb for her beautiful hair. And she said, oh, Jim, this is beautiful. How did you ever afford this beautiful comb? And he said, I sold my watch. Let's have dinner. And O. Henry ends that story. And he says, the Magi, as you know, were wise men, wonderfully wise men, who brought gifts to the newborn Christ child. They were the first to give Christmas gifts. Being wise, their gifts were doubtless wise gifts. And here I have told you the story of two children who were not wise. Each sold the most valuable thing he owned in order to buy a gift for the other. But let me speak a last word to the wise of these days. Of all who give gifts, these two were the most wise. Of all who give and receive gifts, such as they are the most wise. Everywhere, they are the wise ones. They are the Magi.
The purple candle represents the power within us. In this Christmas story, the power is represented by Bethlehem. In Hebrew, Bethlehem literally translates as house of bread. Like bread, our words have the power to give life to what we think, feel, and believe. Our word has the power to transform our life experiences and the world around us with our thoughts, feelings, words, and actions. We choose to use our faculty of power wisely, feeding ourselves with thoughts, feelings, words, and actions which are in the direction of good. We remember that we have the ability to respond to life's experiences with the power of our word. Together, we light this candle to acknowledge our faculty of power. We use power to give life to words and actions that are life-affirming. Power is awakened in us now.
The light blue candle represents imagination. In the Christmas story, our ability to imagine is represented by the star. In the Gospel of Matthew, the wise men were guided by a star to the newborn baby. It lit their path, allowing them to follow a way to the beginning of a new world. The star symbolizes our ability to imagine and envision a transformed world. and follow that vision in order to express more wholeness and joy. We use our power of imagination to create and to give shape to new and great experiences, to see things from different points of view, and to envision and express creative possibilities that support solutions that work for everyone in an atmosphere of compassion, joy, love, courage, and peace. Together, we light a candle to acknowledge our faculty of imagination. We use imagination to create healthy, prosperous, and peaceful and joyous experiences. The light of imagination is awakened in us now.
Imagination and power can move us forward in amazing ways. Imagination creates possibilities. Power gives us the ability to carry out what we imagine.
The gold candle represents understanding. In the Christmas story, our faculty of understanding is represented by Joseph. Joseph, husband of Mary and father to Jesus, inspires us to view life through another's eyes. Joseph's character is strong and quiet. He is open to seeing things differently, to know the world in a more profound way. We light this candle to acknowledge our power of understanding, the power that is our ability to stretch and see with new eyes, taking in all that is happening, not just on the surface with our senses, but with our hearts and minds. This spiritual understanding leads us to knowing the peace that surpasses all human understanding. Together, we light this candle to acknowledge our faculty of understanding. We use understanding to make sense of our own experiences and to make room for the points of view of others. Understanding is awakened in us now.
The silver candle represents the angel Gabriel and the faculty of will. The angel Gabriel came to Mary to let her know she would miraculously give birth to a child. The word angel means messenger from God. This divine visitor knocked on Mary's heart with a message that seemed impossible. Angels represent our higher self, which calls us to be willing to love more deeply, to be willing to forgive more fully, and to be willing to follow the longing within us to expand and grow. We light this candle to acknowledge our living light of will, the light that is our willingness to say yes to do that which is calling us to be greater than we could have ever imagined. Together, we light this candle to acknowledge our faculty of will. We use will to choose the wisest response from the many choices we face in any situation. Will is awakened in us now.
Understanding and will can work together. Will without understanding comes across as force and willfulness. We want to embody understanding with will. And now as we come to the end of our 12 powers, we're going to move into a short time of meditation. We're going to sing What Child Is This? And that will lead us into meditation. At the end of that meditation, I'm going to invite each person to come forward with your candle light your candle from any and all of the 12 powers that you see in front of you. If you choose, you can light from the Christ candle, which embodies the perfect union of all of them. And then once you have chosen which faculty, which power amongst you and within you that you want to activate and feel drawn to expand, light from there and then place it into the salt bath. Let us sing, "What Child Is This?" Please stay seated.
What child is this who laid to rest on Mary's gladly sleeping, whom angels ring with anthems sweet, while shepherds watch are keeping? This is Christ the King, whom shepherds guard and angels sing. Haste, haste to bring him, Lord, the babe, the Son of Mary. So bring him incense, gold, and myrrh, from peasant king to own him. The King of kings salvation brings, let loving hearts enthrone him. This is Christ the King, whom shepherds guard and angels sing. Haste, haste to bring him, Lord, the babe, the Son of Mary.
Close your eyes if that feels comfortable for you. And relax as I review the 12 powers. I'll direct you to the part of the body that relates in many ways to represent those powers. We begin with faith at the top of the head. The faith within us to know that all is well. We pair that faith with the faculty of strength, which we identify in our backbone. When we have the strength to persevere despite appearances, faith and strength work together. And then we move to our groin area, where our faculty of release pairs with our faculty of life. We make room for the new. We release judgments, belief systems, thoughts that we may have held that no longer serve us. And as we release, we make room for the new. new hope, new possibility floods in, filling us with vitality. We then move to our lower belly, where our digestive system resides. This is the home of order. And we pair that with a long journey to the back of our neck, which is where our zeal resides. We know that there are times when we have been passionate about something and we never get it off the ground. It is for this reason that zeal, passion, enthusiasm are paired with order, with structure, with intention. We move next to our belly button, to our gut, where wisdom resides. When we say, "What does your gut say?" we're asking for the discernment of our inner wisdom. And we pair that with our heart, that place of love, so that as we love, we honor ourselves as well as the other person, as well as the other party. Wisdom ensures that all is well for the good of all. And we move up to our throat, the seat of our power, where our words are spoken. And if you have ever experienced a time when you've been afraid to speak up, you might notice that you feel a lump in your throat as your power is literally feeling throttled. And we pair that power with the power of imagination right between our eyes. Because if we can imagine a successful outcome, the power is freed. And finally, we move to the top of our forehead and the top of our head near the place of faith, where will and understanding meet, where our intellect, which says that we know how things ought to be, is supported by our willingness to do it. And these 12 powers that essentially create a full body energy system, when they work together, they create a mighty force in us. They light us up. child within us which is perfect, the Christ child within us, shines. And so we move into a place of silence and contemplate which powers we want to actualize as we prepare to light our candle. that, we go straight into joy to the world. We will consider our offerings blessed tonight. And while I'm speaking of blessed, I want to acknowledge Penny and our choir, our leader, who helped calmly to keep us all together, which is not always an easy thing to do. And to Art for your beautiful, beautiful solo this evening, and Cindy as well for leading us through a gorgeous, gorgeous song. Alexander, thank you so much for being here, and most excitedly for me, to be able to sing in a choir with parts and stuff is just so uplifting, so I bless you so much. Let us rise and sing our last two songs, Hark the Herald Angels Sing, followed by Joy to the World. Say the prayer for protection. May the light of God surround us, the love of God enfold us, the power of God protect us, and the presence of God watch over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Amen. Merry Christmas, everybody. Please join us for refreshments, and thank you for participating in this most beautiful service.